sometimes you just need to talk to other writers because writing is a different type of profession or hobby. If you do it as a hobby, that's fine. But it's a different type of animal than a lot of other things. And sometimes you just need to talk to someone who understands.
There are opportunities for our work and careers everywhere, if you know where to look. That's easier said than done, especially in our fast-paced and constantly changing world. Ann Faremouth is talking to experts, employers, and job seekers to bring you insight and understanding about what's possible. This is Career Can Do, where we're navigating the new work world.
Welcome to the Career Can Do podcast. We're happy to have Alicia Richardson here today. She's the CFO of the Houston Writers Guild, and I've been a part of this organization for many, many years, and it's a wonderful organization, helps so many people, and we've got a big conference coming up in just a couple of weeks. And so I wanted to have Alicia on the show today to talk to our listeners about what it's all about. So Alicia, you've been a member for a long time. Tell us what the mission of the Houston Writers Guild is and how it's evolved over the years.
All right, our mission, Roger Paulding started the Guild many years ago, and he organized a lot of groups, and they had an annual contest, manuscript contest every year. And over time, our focus has shifted a little bit as we've had CEOs with different visions. But the main thing is we organize events and gather resources to help writers hone their skills. So like critique groups and the conferences. And down in this corner over my shoulder, we do a joint venture with WIVLA. That's the Women in Literary and Visual Arts. So we have a short story contest, and then we pick the top 3, first, second, and third, and then honorable mentions to make an anthology. So that's usually run in conjunction with our conference.
Okay. Well, Alicia, I'm obviously a recruiter in addition to being an author and a writer. But as a recruiter, I really think the skills of writing are extremely important. The better writer you are, the better you can communicate on your job. So I think this conference is a wonderful one. I think it can help so many people. With that in mind, Alicia, who can join the Guild and what kind of people do you typically support?
Okay, so we are open to anyone. Some organizations, you have to have sold a certain number of publications in order to qualify to join, but we welcome anybody. We've got critique groups that support writers of all ability levels. I mean, you can be a beginner and join a critique group. And so when we put the conferences together, we try to include speakers who can address like business, craft, and inspiration so that there's something for everybody.
Well, that's wonderful. I started writing because I had a lot of challenges at a certain point in my life. In a 3-year period, I lost 5 people. And my good friend from Michigan, who was a journalist, said to me, why don't you take a writing for healing class? So I sat down on my computer one day and I typed in writing for healing, and it was a Saturday. And the next day there was a class at the Spectrum Center with Max Reagan. And I took that class, and that was the beginning of the end. I started to write after that. But I think writing has a lot of applications in many ways. And I think right now, Alicia, with all the challenges we have in the world, I think people that, maybe are going through a tough time, if they thought about writing and getting things out, sometimes that does help. Don't you agree?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, journaling benefits a lot of people. I've done journaling and it helps.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we touched upon this already, but, what makes the Houston Writers Guild unique compared with some other writing organizations is that you don't have to be a published author to be a member. I know a lot of other
That's one thing, because a lot of the groups target specific either genres or types of writers, like the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. They have a magnificent chapter here in Houston. If you write children's books, I would highly recommend you connect with them. But they only focus on children's books. And we have a broad umbrella, and we have authors that write pretty much everything. So,
I've attended this for many, many years, and the speakers that you have, the different seminars you offer are so helpful to so many kinds of people. That's why I wanted to have you all on the show, because I think it's an organization that really gives a lot of good information, and the people that you have as speakers are really interesting and helpful. So how would you say that the Guild fosters creative growth and collaboration among its members?
Okay, so one of the things that we do is we offer critique groups. And for any of your listeners who are not familiar with critique groups, you have a group of people. We found that like 6 to 7 is probably the optimum number, but you need at least 3. But you get together and you share your work, and other people make comments on it. And one of the ways that helps is a lot of times you have stuff in your head and you know that about the story or the character, but the reader doesn't because it's in your head. And they can point that out to you, help you get that out down on the paper to make your work better. We also do the conferences. Historically, we have done 2 conferences, one in the spring that is primarily focused on traditionally published authors with agents and editors. We weren't able to do that this year. And then we do one in the fall that's Indiepalooza that focuses on independently published authors. So we try to have a balance of stuff for, traditionally and independently published people. We also have an event, it's called Social Saturday, and it's a Zoom call at 10 o'clock on Saturday morning. And if you go to our website, that's houstonwritersguild.org, there's a link to it. So if anyone who wants to join us at 10 a.m. on Saturday, we'll be there. Obviously, the weekend of the 27th, we won't be there because I'll be at the conference, but I host that. And then we have a luncheon once a month, as we call it, the Social Saturday Lunch Bunch. So you can come and talk to other writers in an informal setting, because sometimes you just need to talk to other writers, because writing is a different type of profession or hobby. If you do it as a hobby, that's fine, but it's a different type of animal than a lot of other things. And sometimes you just need to talk to someone who understands.
Oh, I think you're right. It's funny. I was in a class one time, and I was a writing class, and I think the Houston Writers Guild sponsored it. And one of your board members was in the class, and I had written this short story, and she read it over, and it was a critique group. And she said, Marianne, I think if you changed it around this and had the plot a little different and this and that. So I did what she told me, and I did enter a contest, and it won first place. So I think those critiques can really help, and you've got so many experienced writers in the Houston Writers Guild. So can you yourself share a success story from the Guild, a Guild member whose career was positively impacted by the organization?
Well, there's several people in our Thursday critique group that have gone on and had some publishing success. One of our members is Tassie Callis, and she writes humorous women's fiction. Think Irma Bombeck, that type of stuff. And when she started with our group, she was a brand new newbie writer. She hadn't been writing a whole lot, but she's been in our critique group for years now, and she's had stuff published in Chicken Soup for the Soul. She's got a collection of short stories called Yaya's Big Black Purse. She's been in the last 3 of our joint venture anthologies with WIVLA. She's been at least an honorable mention in all 3 of those. So she's had 3 different stories in the journey into anthologies. And I think she's had some magazine publications as well. So being in the critique group, I think, and she's also done some like Irma Bombeck writing conferences. So we can't take all the credit, but I think, being in a critique group kind of forces accountability, because it's like you have to have your pages. Okay, we're not going to kick somebody out if they don't bring pages every single week, because we meet weekly, but it's like, oh, I've got to get pages for my critique group on Thursday. So it kind of encourages you to get your stuff done and get your pages submitted so you can get your publication goals met.
That's wonderful. Well, as I said, I certainly been involved in many of the other different conferences you've had. And this one, Alicia, when does it start? When does it end? It's for 2 days or 3 days, or how does it work?
Normally, we have had the book launch event for the anthology on the Friday night. And last year we did it at Brazos Bookstore, and that was really successful. So we're also doing it at Brazos Bookstore this weekend. We'd originally scheduled the conference for the first weekend in October, so that Friday would have been October the 3rd. But there was an issue with the venue. It wasn't available, so we had to move the conference back a week. But yeah, it'll be there at Rice University. And
Is that the 27th?
The 27th, yeah, 27th to 28th. 27th is the main day where we have the majority of the speakers. And then Sunday is a half-day workshop with our keynote speaker, Wolf Moon. And that's something that I'm excited to see because this workshop is one that's in pretty high demand. And normally, if he's just doing the workshop, because he's in the Pacific Northwest, and if he's either traveling somewhere or there locally, the workshop is $100. So a significant discount, and he's doing that to help us out. So if you get a chance to attend on Sunday.
What does he write about?
He writes kind of a little bit of everything. I think he's primarily fantasy and science fiction, but he's got romances, and I think he's got some nonfiction because he, writes some how to write books. But yeah, he writes a lot.
Well, that's great. So if somebody is brand new to the conference and they want to attend, what can they expect? I mean, what is it like? What is the, I know you mentioned the Sunday, but what is it? What can they expect? What kind of different seminars or classes can they take, and what can they expect from it?
So our scheduled speakers that we have, and it's always subject to change because sometimes people come in and some people drop out, but get the keynote on Saturday, and then he's got to roll up your sleeves and actually do some workshop on Sunday. Our speaker last year was Deborah Mouton, and her husband Joshua is going to give a talk on how to build your author website. So whatever level of writing you are, that is information you need to have. And Stacey Eskelin has been publishing for many, many years. She's primarily a romance writer, but she's going to talk about handling rejection, because rejection is a fact of life in publishing. So that will help you either build a thick skin or thicken the skin you already have. Mike Coas is going to talk about business and taxes, because if you've sold something, you're going to get a 1099, or, if you have an LLC, or, however your business is set up, you're going to have to pay taxes. So he can give some tips. And the tax rules are always changing. So he'll do some writer-specific tax things. And Daphne Jack is going to talk about writing nonfiction. And she's a really interesting person. She used to be a parole officer, and her husband was convicted for a crime that he did not commit. So she spent years trying to get the situation rectified and get him out of jail and get the person who did commit the crime in jail. And as a result of that, she's founded charities. She's got one for children whose parents are incarcerated to get them school supplies and books and stuff. And she's just an amazing person. So she often drops in on our Saturday morning Zoom call, but I really, really like her. She's doing some professoring. She's working at Houston, I guess it's Houston City College now. She's teaching a class there, and she's also teaching as an online adjunct at Stephen F. Austin. She's a great speaker, and she's just a phenomenal person.
All right. Well, you've got some wonderful, wonderful speakers that are going to be there. And I think this conference can support not only published authors, but people that maybe that are thinking about writing, and to know, what you need on a website, what if you're thinking of writing nonfiction or fiction. My forte is mainly nonfiction, but I have written like 7 short story fiction pieces that have been published. And I am writing a fiction book right now too, as well. So I think the conference opens up so many new ideas for people. And again, as I said, being a career counselor, being a recruiter, I can't stress enough how I hear clients talk about how they're impressed with the way somebody wrote a thank you note, or the way somebody wrote their introduction or their cover letter or their resume. So writing is a skill that really is imperative in the career world, but also I believe in writing helps you, as you say, journaling helps you get ideas out. And I think, we all are trying to become our best self. And if we have another skill we can perfect and work through and work with, and there's a conference available to help you do that, I think you all need to check it out. It's a wonderful group. The people I've met in this organization are really neat people. They're smart, they're caring, they're gifted. But check out the Houston Writers Guild. If you get a chance, try to go on September 27th, 28th. It's an amazing event. Alicia, I always like to leave our listeners with two salient points at the end. If somebody's listening to this and they're just not sure about whether they'd be a possible contender or person to attend, what would you tell them? What would you say? Two things they'd get out of going to this conference.
I would say push the boat out because you never know who you're going to meet and you never know who's going to inspire you. And sometimes just sitting and soaking up the atmosphere can give you the boost that you need to keep going. Because like I said, writing is it's something you do by yourself. And sometimes just connecting with other people who are doing the same thing is really, really important to keep that flow going.
Oh, I agree with you so much. And the people I've met through the Houston Writers Guild are just wonderful people. And it's helped me as an individual grow. And I've learned so much. So, Alicia, thank you so much for taking the time to be on Career Can Do. I've always admired you and the people on the board. And I look forward to seeing you on September 27th and 28th. So that's the end of this Career Can Do. And we'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye. We thank you for tuning in to our Career Can Do podcast. We make no guarantees on results for your particular quest, but we hope you enjoy the information presented. The views and opinions expressed in this program are solely that of the guest or speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of Mary Ann Faremouth and Faremouth and Company. Thank you.